That's actually a good segue into a lot of us are free to play in this community. We have several who aren't, but um, Rourke wanted to know if you have any advice for those free to play players chasing versus predicting the meta. It can be a pretty frustrating process. I'm on the predicting side of it. I'm just totally sold on Jedi. I'd love for you to tell my community that I'm not crazy for thinking Jedi medic could be a thing too, by the way. Um, but what do you?
Yeah.
What would your advice be for someone who's free to play trying to predict versus chase the meta?
So the meta's been Zeta, and that's pretty much what it's been about. You know, you've got two metas at the moment. You've got your Zeta meta, and you've also got your speed meta. So they kind of play into each other, like you see with Maul. You know, it's about speed and the Zeta. If there was no Zeta on that Maul, on the reworked Maul as well, and you've also got your reworked Resistance, reworked First Order, if you didn't have them Zetas on there, they wouldn't be half as good as what they are, and be viable at all. So my advice I can give to any free to play is get your Zetas, start getting farming your Zetas. It's happening. It's not always guaranteed good. Look at like Kylo Ren, for an example. Probably the best rework after Boba Fett. Boba Fett was a great rework, but Kylo Ren's just crazy. His rework, one man versus five, he can do it because he's a reworked Kylo Ren. And he has to have a Zeta, of course. Kylo Ren without a Zeta, not as good. So it is all about the Zetas and who you put them into characters. Like, if you're going to go for a full Sith squad, I think at this point right now, isn't all that to go for now because so many people have Sith. It was good at the beginning because not everybody had a Zeta Maul, so you could get away. But coming into a meta quite late, tomorrow they could flip the switch and they could bring out a character or even a rework, and it completely changes the whole aspect of the dodge meta. They could have just one character that has a unique that puts accuracy down or accuracy up, just instantly kills that team, and that's just one character. You know, there's multiple ways. Predicting the meta, it was good to do last year because I've seen Rebels come in with movies. I would say, you know, at one point we're going to have a First Order meta and you're going to have a Resistance meta, and they're going to be the two dominant teams. But we're talking that's like Episode 8. At the minute, I think it's going to move towards Empire. There's probably so much that can happen with Empire, and you've got all the characters coming out that have been mentioned, like Saxon. Jedi, I think if they bring out or rework the current Jedi, and the problem that you've got with the current Jedi is it's so reliant on one lead, and that's the Qui-Gon Jinn Zeta lead, or even rework like another Jedi, then it could be then that's meta changing and you could have a different leadership. Then what you'd probably see that happens, that Maul will kind of like disappear, everyone will move over. Because if you look with all these kind of like Rex teams at the moment, they're geared to face Mauls. But if you put a Zeta Vader against these, Zeta Vader would destroy a Rex team because he can't cleanse it. As long as he's getting off that kind of like dots on him straight away, you know, and he would just dominate it, you know. And so not many people use it because they don't want to change it. A lot of people do have their Zeta Vader, but they don't want to change it because all their mods are on their Maul with what the meta is, where it could be changed and you could run different teams, but everyone goes with what they think is the easiest. If Jedi Luke or Luke with a Jedi tag, then that definitely is going to change things up. But again, he could have a Rebel tag that makes Rebels more viable again. So it could go two ways, but it just depends on going to rework the Jedi because they currently have quite a few Zeta on them as well. So you'd probably see characters like Fisto maybe pull out the bag. So you'd probably want to farm him if you haven't got him. It's probably definitely going to be on the list to be reworked because at the minute he's got nothing to him. And same as Platoon as well. Another Jedi. I think they've all got Zetas or they're quite important. You've got Ayla as well. Ayla Secura. She hasn't got a Zeta, so she could get one. Anakin, go different ways. It's just hard at the moment to kind of like predict because they could just mention a rework and that could change everything.
Kind of along the same free-to-play standpoint, Tiny wanted to know, do you think it's better to go for standalone teams that are faction dependent or to go for teams that are faction dependent, like an Empire team, a Rebel team, what have you, or to go for good, solid standalone teams like a Rex that can work in multiple factions?
Got ya. It really depends on what the current meta is. Like Rex works so well because Maul is a debuffing, critting character team. So that's why that leadership works really well. I personally go for hybrid squads. Sith, you could have all 5 of them, but there's no real benefit because all they're getting really is from their leadership. They're not getting any synergy in between each other. So Savage doesn't get any synergy with Maul, Vader doesn't get any synergy with Emperor Palpatine. So it's definitely a difficult one, but I'm more of a fan of the hybrid style where you could use, say, a leadership that affects all. I think, in my opinion, that then doesn't limit you to what you use. Completely goes on what characters you've got at your kind of like in your collection. But I would always say hybrid it because you can use characters like Kylo Ren, other great characters as well. You know, Boba Fett if you wanted to, and they do their job individually. To go for a full Sith team, it kind of lacks a lot as well. Or some teams like the Phoenix Squad, you have to have a full squad really, but they're still underwhelming in the current arena.
Right on. I think that's good advice, and I think especially I think of Kylo Ren. That's a tune that really seems to work in a lot of different teams, and he's very manageable from a free-to-play standpoint. I mean, before he was even viable, I had him at 7 stars before spending any money on the game.
Same, I had him at 7 stars. I think he was my second character that I farmed, only because I watched The Force Awakens and I was like, I want Kylo Ren.
Yeah, that's like, right where I was at.
What is he? Oh, he's horrible. Yeah, he just didn't help me in the arena whatsoever at that point.
I was pretty stoked when he got his rework myself.
Remember when he got nerfed? They nerfed Kylo Ren when they nerfed Yoda. They did a whole big nerf and they nerfed Kylo Ren, like his attack. Yes. I was like, what? Why?
I'm still scratching my head over the Yoda nerf. He's Grandmaster Yoda.
It's crazy. He needs to be buffed. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah. Now, another important question is what your personal favorite Ugnaught ability is.
He's only got the one.
We're just playing. We had to throw in a few to shake it up.
Yeah.